U.S. oil production hitting an all-time high in June, with output set to peak in 2026. President Trump still pushing for American energy dominance, looking to rebalance trade and reshore manufacturing. My next guest is headed on a very important trip overseas next week, meeting with his European counterparts to strengthen the U.S. energy industry. Joining me now for an exclusive preview, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Secretary, thank you so much for being here this morning and giving us a preview of this upcoming trip. What can you tell us?
Well, great to be with you, Cheryl. Well, obviously, under President Trump's leadership, completely rebalancing trade in the world. As part of these historic trade deals, many of these countries or organizations of countries like the EU are committed to buying record amounts of U.S. energy. In the case of the EU deal, $750 billion of U.S. energy purchases over the next 3 years. So Secretary Chris Wright and I will be at Gazprom next week. It's the largest energy conference in Europe, talking to European counterparts about those deals and trying to pave the way for U.S. companies to sell record amounts of energy. And of course, this is key to prosperity here at the United States, prosperity at home, but it's also about peace abroad, because many of these European nations were dependent on Russia for their LNG, which is funding the Russian war machine. President Trump wants to end that war like he's ended all these other wars, and the key to that is U.S. energy dominance based off U.S. energy abundance, which means low prices here at home, but an opportunity for American companies to sell record amounts of energy abroad.
Do we have that capacity, Secretary? Because I'm glad you brought up the issue of LNG exports. That was something that the Biden administration basically stopped, and it really hurt our allies, and then they had to go to Vladimir Putin for LNG. But do these companies have enough capacity while also keeping the energy supplies here at home on track?
Well, Cheryl, you bring up a great point. I mean, completely inexplicable that under the Biden administration that they would do something that hurt America and helped our adversaries. That's exactly what happened when they shut down LNG export facilities. But under President Trump from day one, there's been a complete explosion of building going on export facilities, tens of billions of dollars going in across the Gulf Coast. The effort that's going on in Alaska to build LNG export capabilities to sell to our Pacific allies. Yes, we have the supply. The U.S. is the largest supplier of LNG now in the world and growing the most rapidly. We're the one that's gaining share. And when we take that market share away from Russia, again, that's great for Americans, and it's great for world peace.
It certainly is. I'm glad that you're taking this trip, sir. Let's move on to something else that's been very important to you. So President Trump is backing that massive Resolution copper mine in Arizona after a meeting with leaders of Rio Tinto and BHP. These are two of the world's largest mining companies. That project has been in the works for 2 decades, but it's been delayed by a court injunction, blocking land exchange previously approved by Congress. Secretary, you've been urging action on this. You say this blockage could threaten up to 25% of America's copper demand over the next 50 years. Why is this so important? Because I also know that you have been very clear that we've got to be, this nation needs to produce more copper in our fight against the Chinese dominating this industry.
Well, of course, yes, Cheryl, absolutely correct. The copper is critical to electronics. It's critical to electric transmission. It's critical to building transformers, all the things we need to win the AI arms race against China. That's one of the existential threats we're facing. China's producing record amounts of electricity. The U.S. needs to expand our electric production. We need copper to do that. This Resolution mine has been fighting to get permitted for 29 years. We achieved the permitting. We were, having the day in the Oval Office with the leaders of these companies you described, with the president, and the 9th District put a hold on it for another 6 weeks to try to block it one more time. We're fighting back in the courts to make sure that we can do this. The United States needs to have self-sufficiency relative to critical minerals. We saw this spring the market's in turmoil for a while because China does have a stranglehold on some key critical and rare earth minerals that the U.S. needs for autos, for technology, and for defense. And we've got to get back in the mining business. Last year, the United States graduated 36,000 lawyers from our universities. We graduated about 300 people in metal and mining and metallurgical degrees. If you're looking for a career that's going to last for your lifetime, that helps national security, we need more people choosing to get back into mining. It's not just drill, baby, drill. We've got to mine, baby, mine in this country, and make sure we're not dependent on our adversaries for things we need for our economy and for our national security.
Hence the 50% copper tariff, which has been put into place. I mean, that's the thing. You know, because I've heard you talk about this before. How do you stop the Chinese from dumping copper into our market? If you've got the tariff issue with the copper, I mean, I'm guessing that's the first step. You know, but how do you stop this from continuing to happen on top of the tariff at 50% for copper?
Well, it comes back to making sure that we're incenting domestic suppliers. We have to do that. We have to be able to produce our own production here on rare earth and critical minerals. We've got to be able to refine it here. China has been strategically for decades, whenever a U.S. company would start to gain some traction, gain profitability, gain access to capital markets to develop a mine or a refinery, China would dump it in. They would kill the market. They'd crush the profitability of that American company, and they effectively killed mining in our nation. We've got to get back to that. We can do mining here cleaner, safer, smarter, more efficiently, with all the new technology. Mining today is a high-tech industry. We can do it here, and we can provide those materials. Right now, again, it's China is digging up from Indonesia to Central Africa. They're essentially with no thought about environmental controls, using slave labor in some cases to provide these minerals. We're not helping the environment when we get our supplies from China. We're actually hurting the environment. We should do it here. So it's good for the environment, good for national security, good for the economy when the U.S. is providing domestic suppliers for these things like copper, which is absolutely necessary for America.
Talk to us about this $437 million investment on outdoor access and recreation.
Well, exciting news yesterday. We announced, again, this is part of a congressional bill that was passed, which assures that the Land and Water Conservation Fund gets permanent funding. There's a formula that goes out. Dollars get sent out to each state. So there are state dollars that go out. They can use this for access to recreation, supporting whether it's access for fishermen, hunters, anglers, or other conservation projects. And so, again, exciting to get that announcement out the door. We had a great meeting yesterday with 20 leaders from conservation groups. President Trump is on his way to not only being the peace president, but also being the conservation president. Conservation in the Theodore Roosevelt way, which was that it meant sustainability. It meant that these public lands were for the benefit and the enjoyment of the American people. It's not about preservation. It's not about never cutting a tree, never mining a mineral, or never producing any energy. It's about using these God-given resources that we have in a way that provides, again, for the strength, the economy, and the defense of America, exactly the way Theodore Roosevelt planned it. That's what President Trump understands, and we're on the way to implementing President Trump's vision about making sure that the U.S. Can not only be energy independent, but energy dominant. That abundance is what allows us to have prosperity at home and peace abroad.
Absolutely. Before you go, I do want to ask you this. The national debt is currently sitting at more than $37.4 trillion. Secretary, would you be willing to sell federal land to pay down the national debt?
Well, I don't think that there's much interest in selling a land other than very specific cases where we've got fast-growing cities in the West, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, Boise, places that are hemmed in by Bureau of Land Management land that's not useful for hunting or recreation or mineral development. There's opportunities for us to do land swaps, lands exchanges, or in southern Nevada, there is a current law that allows us to sell land very effectively. We take the money from those sales, we put it back into recreation and development. But what we can do is long-term leases. You talked about the debt, $37 trillion. The balance sheet, America has 700 million acres of public land, 700 million acres of subsurface minerals, 2.5 million acres of offshore. excuse me, not million, 2.5 billion acres of offshore. The balance sheet of America is in the hundreds of trillions. It's not, the 37 trillion in debt is tiny compared to the assets we have. We're just getting a horrible return because we're not developing them. And again, whether it's timber, whether it's mining, whether it's energy development, and whether it's recreation, which is a $1.2 trillion industry itself. So better use of our public lands for the benefit of the American people is what the Trump administration is all about. When we go get those returns, that's going to help us reduce the deficit, and it helps improve the life of Americans across our country.
Secretary Doug Burgum, I've been following your work in the timber industry, and next time we have to talk more about that, sir. Thank you so much for being with us this morning for that exclusive preview, and we will be following your trip.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, Secretary Doug Burgum. We'll be right back, everybody.